When I first came to law school, I didn't know that I wanted to be a public defender. I actually didn't even know that much about it. I knew I wanted to help poor people, and so I was looking for what the best way to do that would be. And once I learned about what the public defender did, that it took everyone, that it treated all people that came through the door as humans that deserved to be fought for, to have someone on their side, that was very appealing to me. It resonated with my personal faith and my convictions, and then getting to see how that plays out was incredible. And then there's this bonus that, as far as I can tell, it's the best lawyer job out there. You're in trial every day, getting to do the stuff that you think is only on TV. When you get into law school, they say you'll never be in court, but if you go and work for the public defender, you're always in court, and that's an amazing bonus. But really, it's the clients that make me want to do this work.
The students we look for are the ones that we think are going to be strong advocates. People who are self-starters, people who really stick by their principles, because when this student, once they're trying their own cases, they're the only thing that stands between their client and the punishments of the justice system. They're working as mitigators and as defenders.
When I started my second summer at the public defender's office, I got to start working on a double murder case, which not every clerk gets to work on, so I was very pleased to do that, and to work with Sanders was a great privilege. And this is actually the third time this client has gone to trial. The first time the jury hung, the second time he was convicted, but the Court of Appeals reversed it, and now he's been in jail for 7 years and he's getting a third shot. Working on just one case has been a great opportunity because I've gotten to see really all levels of a complex case, and that's actually what I asked for when I decided to come back for a second summer. I've gotten to write an extensive motion to dismiss for double jeopardy. I've gotten to go on field interviews in the middle of South Central Los Angeles trying to find witnesses who are being evasive. I've gotten to do investigation reports, different motions, and lots of court observation, getting to work with the client directly by video conference or by going to county jail. I will be able to be sitting at counsel table as second chair, working directly with the client and helping work on evidentiary issues or looking up testimony, prior transcripts to help assist Sanders as he tries the case. So I'll be very involved.
They have a chance to see how a trial is started from the bottom up, you know, the nuts and bolts in terms of how to build a case, how to defend a person who's accused of a crime. You learn how to issue spot. You have to learn how to issue spot. What are weaknesses in cases? How can you attack that case?
PILF grants are amazing because they allow you to do work that you might not be able to do otherwise. For 2 summers, I've been able to get a stipend or a grant to be able to cover my expenses so that I can do what would otherwise be volunteer work at the public defender's office. And it's an incredible opportunity that I don't have to go out and take another part-time job or not even get to try this out at all. I might have never found out that this is the work that I want to do if I wasn't funded by PILF grants.
The Maine Human Rights Commission enforces the Maine Human Rights Act. It's basically investigating human rights violations. My job was an investigator, so I would have cases come to me where people would complain of usually employment discrimination. My job was to investigate the claims from both sides and make a determination on whether there are reasonable grounds going forward with it. So I'd be giving a case file, and in the case file there would be the claimant's claim stating they were discriminated against on some basis and listing the reasons why they believe they were. They would give that to us, we'd send it to the employer, they'd respond to that. Their response would have certain answers to the claim, what their side of the story was, and their evidence for that. I would take both these sides of the stories and do an investigation. Depending on the content of what they gave me, an investigation could be minimal. It could be, this is all I need right here based on the documents. I can read it and make my determination if there's grounds for discrimination or no grounds for it. Other times I had what we called an IRC, which is an Issues and Resolutions Conference, where I'd meet with both parties together and we'd talk about just the facts of the case, what happened, the other sides of the stories. During this time I would try to judge credibility because 2 sides of stories, someone's not really telling the truth most of the time. Sometimes I was able to actually settle my cases, which was enjoyable because it means less paperwork for me and it ends it right away, and it's more of a sense of accomplishment than turning in a file saying this is what I believe. In particular, I had, I can't say the parties were, but I've had an older woman suing her employer for firing her for disability and age discrimination. And she wanted to get above $100,000 from her employer, and we actually negotiated down to $2,000, and both sides left happy. I was able to do lots of face-to-face work, lots of FaceTime with clients, both the claimants and the employers. I actually did negotiations and mediations on my own, so that was very good experience. It taught me a lot, it showed me a lot, it was challenging, at the same time enjoyable, so I gained a lot from it, really. Maine is very different from LA. Maine itself is its own little area. I grew up in Maine, so it's very natural for me to be there. I worked in the capital, which is Augusta, which is actually very small. It's not the biggest city in Maine, actually, even though it's the capital. Maine is beautiful in the summertime especially. We have a large coast, beaches, we have lots of mountains, so most of the time I spent outside with my family, just catching up with them and enjoying my time at home. I know the PILF grant made my summer that much more enjoyable, not worrying about where my money was coming from, not trying to compete for a high-paying job. I was able to find something that suited me more for what I was looking for and what I wanted to gain from the summer, rather than just chasing money around, perhaps.
One of the most memorable cases that I worked on over the summer was a case that involved a young boy who was born without the frontal portion of his brain, which is pretty significant and definitely impacted his ability to function in a classroom environment. He had significant behavioral problems. He, had anger management issues. And the school really didn't want to supply him with all of the supports that he needed. In fact, they were decreasing them as the years went on and ignoring some of the issues that were clearly stemming directly from this child's need for special education. The case is moving forward, but it's still open. It's something that I left mental health advocacy services this summer, still thinking about what's going on with this case, with this child.
It doesn't really matter what you intend to do once your career is done. I think doing one summer in PILF, especially your first summer, is really important. A lot of firms love to see that you've done that. It shows that you're a well-rounded person. And also you get to develop some skills you may not at a larger firm where you're doing, if you're with a 30, 40 person class and you kind of are doing a lot of legal research. When you're working at a public interest law firm, usually you'll be able to get some hands-on contact with direct client contact. You may be able to write certain briefs that you want to get to do, make appearances. And so those are types of things that will benefit any type of lawyer going forward.
The people here that you work with in a small organization like this, it's just, they're incomparable. The types of hands-on experience you get when you work someplace like this is amazing. And it's something that I think that I would really enjoy doing after law school. It's real work, and they're real clients that they're bringing in as additional work because they have the additional help from students who are able to work there because of these PILF grants. So it's really beneficial for students who want to do that type of work, and for organizations who want to continue to be able to help those clients through their work. So supporting PILF is really, really important, and the PILF grants are an amazing, amazing thing. I'm really glad I was able to take advantage of.
One of the great benefits with working with the General Relief Advocacy Program was the opportunity to see a client through an entire issue. In many ways, it was a legal issue in miniature. Each day we went to an office. You were presented with some type of benefits issue. You had to investigate the issue, find out what the rule is, apply it, and hopefully achieve a favorable result for your client. I'm not from the LA area, so when I came to USC, there were a lot of types of work that presented themselves that I wasn't familiar with. Particularly the homelessness issue, the homelessness problem, was something that struck me very early on. I used to live in a very rural area. It's a very different set of issues. So for me, the experience of just driving through Skid Row was formative in a lot of ways in terms of what I'd like to pursue and why I came to work at Public Counsel.
I interviewed dozens of law students to hire within our specific project, and I was just so impressed with Andy, Jeremy, and Brittany, and they just did a fantastic job. Having the support of the PILF grant for our law students to come work for Public Counsel is just indispensable, because we're able to serve hundreds and hundreds of more clients than we could ever serve during the school year. These are students who are working full-time. They need to pay their rent, they need to pay their bills, but they also want to help people, they want to make a difference, and they want to develop legal skills so that they can become the best lawyers possible.
Another great part of the process of the PILF Summer Grants is the student involvement all the way through the process. I think it works in two ways. First, it's really a great incentive to get involved in public interest work during your first year. The 1L curriculum can be a little overwhelming. It's a lot of work. Certainly was for me to begin with. So I think the prospect of receiving funding for that first summer is a great incentive to get involved with that public interest work. I volunteered at the auction last year, and before then I hadn't really realized how important it was as a tool to raise the money that goes to support these PILF grants and goes to support jobs like the one I did. Ultimately, it's the faculty, the students, the alumni that donate their time, that donate auction items, that make the auction such a success and allow us to do the fundraising that's required to fund the PILF Summer Grants and this great work.